As we continue editing, we have been going over white balance, we're going over tone, using the histogram, shadow clipping, highlight clipping warnings. Now we're going to talk about presence for a minute. And presence is really interesting. The clarity control actually adds some punch, right? And what that does is great for bringing out additional texture and detail because the clarity controls the contrast between mid-tone values, okay? So let's see what that looks like. Right? It's not sharpening. Again, it's the contrast between mid-tone values. Sharpening is different and affects the image overall. So let's zoom in a little bit. And this is our original. And there is our, so I'm gonna go over to clarity and watch what happens. If we zoom in a little bit, it gets kind of pixelated, so it's hard to, whoa, it's hard to see. But you can see that it gives it a little more punch. Now, if you go too far, that punch looks like it's also affecting some of the black values and making it look more contrast. So I say just travel gently on that. Let's go down a little bit more, okay? If you go this way, everything gets kind of soft and mushy. You can decrease clarity on a face using the K tool or the adjustment brush, which we will get to maybe soften up under the eyes or target issues like that. But for now, when you've got a building like this, I would give it a little bit of clarity, and you can see that it just gives it a little more punch, okay? It gives it just a little added detail in the clouds, and then the detail also looks pumped up in here. So that's the clarity. The vibrance is a little bit different. In the presence section, you've also got vibrance and saturation. The vibrance slider affects the dull colors the most and affects already saturated colors the least. So check this out. And let's go to this. Okay. So if you increase the vibrance, it will pick the colors that are the least amount vibrant and make them more vibrant, okay? You can also take it to the left to get a little bit of a monochromatic look, which is kind of cool, right? It's different from the saturation, right? And here's how. Again, vibrance affects the colors that the least saturated colors the most. Saturation, this slider, you're never going to use it. It's a train wreck. When you everything looks artificial, right? Everything, because what it does is an overall saturation. It can look unrealistic, and it's when you print them, just look the colors look kind of crazy. So what I do is I do not use the saturation. I usually leave that at 0, and I will play with the vibrance, which will usually give me the colors just that little bit of kick that I want. And say you're like, well, that red right there, I want that red to have a little more zing. I got it. I'm listening. If you go to Hue, Saturation, and Lightness, Color, and Black and White tab, you are able to select that hue, saturation, or luminance. So here, if I want the red to be different, I can make it more magenta or more orange. I can change and make it more saturated, just that color. So this is a targeting adjustment. A global adjustment affects everything overall. A local adjustment is more targeted to certain parts of the image. And then you can also affect the lightness or darkness. So play around with the vibrance, be cautious of the saturation, and then I would also suggest experimenting with the HSL, Hue, Saturation, and Luminance, where you can go in and select certain colors and affect them on a one-by-one basis. Cool? All right.